Hello guys, welcome back to another video in the Django Foundation series. Now in this video we are going to learn how to essentially let users type in some title, content and post a blog to the blog post we have created. So to do this, we are going to essentially need to create a URL endpoint, handle it in a view and then render it in a place, right? So let's go get started. So first I'm going to essentially go to urls.py, add an endpoint called create. So I'm going to call it create, where user will be able to submit the thing and also be able to see the page. And I'm going to call it create post view and also import that here. Of course, now we need to go and write this create post in our views.py. So let's just do that. So def create post. It will of course take a request as the argument, and there are no parameters because every post is going to be new and it does not require any parameter as such. And when I visit the create URL first time, I want to be able to see a form that lets me enter the title and the content, right? So I'm going to return the template which will show me the form. So I'm going to say request and pass the create underscore post.html file. So now let me go to templates and, like what we've been saying, create a create post HTML file. So here HTML head and title, I'm going to call it create new post. This time around I'm actually going to be using Bootstrap to make this a little pretty, otherwise this is going to look very ugly. So now let me go to the Bootstrap site and just copy the Bootstrap CSS URL. Just grab this URL, paste it in my head, and I can then start using the CSS for it. So I'm going to create my body and I'm going to encapsulate everything in the container class and add some padding at the top. Great. So now in my container I'm going to write the form. So I'm going to say h3 create new post and add a ruler. Now I can essentially start adding the form. So first I'll create a form. The action essentially that is part of the form is where the form will be submitted to. When I say where in the terms of the internet, where is always essentially an endpoint in a web application, right? So this action needs to be the place is the place where the data will get submitted to. It should be one of these URLs, or I need to write another URL. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to submit it to the same URL as create, which is the page that is rendering it. So let me go to the action and type in /create. Oops, I need to write it here, and /create. And I'm going to now essentially add form elements to this, which is the first is the input element, and the input element is going to be of text type, and I'm adding class form control for Bootstrap sake. You can keep it very simple and just like not add anything at all, so you can just be like this, right? But I'm going to add that for the sake of beauty. Then we need to give this field a name, so I'm going to call this as title. Then apart from this, we also need a text area for us to be able to handle the content for the content section of the blog. So I'm going to call this as content, and we don't need any of this, and we're also going to need class form control. So now the important thing here, like if you're not going to get anything else right, is to get the names right. So the names are the most important parts of the input and the form tags, because that is how you are going to essentially fetch the data when the request gets submitted. Now apart from this, I actually of course need the button that submits this data. So I'm going to create a button of submit type and call it create post. And to make this look pretty, I'm going to add a CSS class called button success. So now let's go to /create and actually look at this page. So first I'll need to run the server and visit /create. And you can see now we have a form. Essentially we have two form fields. One is the title and one is essentially the text area. Now to make this look pretty, I'm just going to add some break tags around these things, and also add a p tag that tells me what this is. So I'm going to say title, and here I'm going to add a p tag, say content. So this should suffice. Yeah, so now this looks something that is digestible and easily readable. Now what I want to do is I want to let users type in some title for their blog post and add some content, and then when they click create post, it should go to my database and get saved. To do this, we need to handle the post request. So one of the things that we learned during learning HTTP and how internet works is there are certain types of requests in HTTP: get request, post request, and order of these sorts. And we need to essentially submit this as a post request. So to do that, we need to go to our form, and after action, we need to define this as method equals to post. So now what is happening is we are submitting, so we need to pay attention to one important thing, is that this entire form is being rendered, this entire page is being rendered on the URL/create, and we are also going to handle the submission of this form on the same URL endpoint. And when we do that, the same function is going to be called. When the same function is going to be called, it's simply going to render the same HTML page. So there has to be some logic that goes in here that will actually handle the post request. To handle that, we are going to actually take advantage of what is there inside our request object that is being passed. So we've been seeing that request is being passed to every view that we've written so far, and we've done nothing with it. So this is the first time we are going to be handling that. Now inside the request object, we have something called as a method attribute that tells us what kind of request it is, whether it's a get request, post request, what kind of request. So I can be like, if request.method is equal to post, then I can do something different, right? If it is not a post request, it's of course going to render the create post.html, but if it's a post request, I can do something with it. Now let's see what is going to come in the request.post thing. So whenever there is a method post, we are also going to be available, there is also going to be another attribute that is available called the post dictionary. So we are going to print the request.post dictionary that is going to come when a form is submitted, right? So another thing that we discussed in the first video was that Django enforces some web security practices on us. So every form that is there in Django needs to be essentially be encapsulated, not encapsulated. Every form needs to have something called as a CSRF token. To add the CSRF token, we are going to just open flower brackets and add a logical statement called CSRF token. So what this is going to do is this is going to add a cross-site request forgery token that will avoid the forgery like some other site trying to send data to your site, right? So if you need more information on this, you can just Google CSRF and read up on this. But this is a compulsory token that needs to be placed in every form that Django is going to handle, right? Once this is sent, we are going to be available. We're going to come here and it's going to be available here. And so as you can see, what is going to happen right now is whenever I post, it'll come, it's going to print the post dictionary and again re-render the HTML file. So now let's go try that. Our server is running. So now let's go to the create post page, add a bunch of titles and add some content and click create post. So now I can type in a bunch of content here, some title and some content, and create post. What this would have done is this would have submitted this form to my same endpoint that we created, but this time around the if request.method will be actually post, because we defined it in our HTML, which we defined it here, and which will end up printing our request.post dictionary, and we can see that dictionary here, right? So we got it printed, and you can see that this has something else apart from just simple the title and the content that we added in our form. These are the two things that we added in our form, but we also have a third thing called CSRF middleware token. This is a token that was added by our Jinja tag that we added, the template tag that we added, and now we can start working with this. So since this is a dictionary, we know that this is a dictionary, we can access title and content as if they were keys in a dictionary. So I'm going to access here. I'm going to be like title is equal to request.post of title, because it's a dictionary, and then similarly I can access content as request.post of content. Now of course, to create a new post, I'm just going to be like new post is equal to, we are going to use the create operation that is recreate method that is part of our model manager. I'm going to be like blog post dot objects dot create, and then pass the title to it. Title is equal to title variable that we just created, and content is equal to content, and of course the created timestamp will be created automatically by it. So now after the new post has been created, what I want to do is I want to actually go to the home page or the page where all the posts are there and check if that new blog post is also there. So I'm just going to be like return redirect to the path, so which is all posts / all posts. However, we have not imported this redirect function, so we need to first import it. So after the render at the top, I'm just going to add a comma and import the redirect function as well. So now you need to understand that if it's a post request, it's going to unpack the dictionary that has been received, the title and the content, create a new blog post and redirect us to the all blog posts page. So now let's go try this out. So I'm going to add a new title called full stack maker, and I'll add the content as learn the fundamentals or learn to build your own products while in college, and then press create post. Now this should not actually come back to the same page, it should go to the all post page. So when I click create post, it is going to create the post and redirect us to all post page. Okay, this so my bad, the server had not restarted. So now let's actually go back and now submit the form again. So I'm going to submit the form again, and you can see now the full stack maker blog post has been added. So even if I refresh again, so the new post has been already added. If I visit that page, it's going to appear right here. So that's how you actually handle the post request using a template and actually create new posts in the database.